You walk around this building, and everyone is so supportive and so excited.
The Indiana Fever front office might be executing one of the most tone-deaf, arrogant, and financially risky bait-and-switches in the history of professional sports. Right now, if you check their social media feeds, their official website, or your email inbox, they are actively, shamelessly pushing ticket sales, group packages, and premium upscale dining experiences. They are frantically plastering Caitlin Clark's face on every single digital billboard available, asking the hard-working, everyday fans of this sport to hand over their hard-earned money in a struggling economy. But they are doing all of this in the exact same week they heavily signaled plans to take the basketball out of her hands. The exact same week they drafted a defensively minded point guard to replace her at the position. And the exact same week they floated the highly toxic corporate buzzword of load management to describe exactly how they plan to utilize the most marketable player in the history of women's basketball. They are seriously suggesting load management for a 24-year-old generational superstar in a 44-game season. A player who tragically missed 31 games last season due to injury, but who just played elite gold medal level basketball for Team USA in March, and is absolutely chomping at the bit to return to the hardwood. Now, the front office is sitting in their luxury suites, scratching their heads, wondering why the fan base is hesitating, why the waitlists are stalling, and why the internet is turning completely against them. This is WNBA Pro, your undisputed, unfiltered home for the highest-level WNBA analytics on YouTube. And you grab your notebooks and lock in, because Amber Cox's recent comments might have accidentally exposed Stephanie White's entire tactical blueprint. And the Indiana Fever are about to learn exactly what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you. Wanted to see the two worst words associated with the National Basketball Association right now is load management. That's the two words that has greatly assisted the NBA in falling from grace. The fan backlash is heating up, the wallets are closing, and the Fever front office is clearly feeling the immense pressure of the moment. General Manager Amber Cox was recently dispatched to the local media to extinguish a blazing PR fire after a highly confusing and controversial draft week. Her goal was incredibly simple: calm the furious fan base, spin the narrative, and logically justify the front office's baffling decision to draft another point guard when the team desperately needed front court size. But instead of putting out the fire, her polished corporate PR speak contained a highly concerning clue about what is actually coming for Caitlin Clark. And she accidentally handed the fans the gasoline. Cox stated that while rookie Raven Johnson played primarily point guard in college, she has the ability to transition and become a really great combo guard. Let that word sink in permanently. Transition. The Indiana Fever did not draft Raven Johnson to be a standard backup who plays 10 minutes a night. They drafted her to transition into a combo guard. And if she is transitioning from a traditional point guard to a combo guard, well, all mathematical and logical signs suggest somebody else in that starting backcourt is also transitioning. We all know exactly who that is. In the multi-billion-dollar business of professional sports, language matters. Every single syllable matters. When a GM goes on the record and says a player will transition into a combo guard, it strongly indicates the coaching staff explicitly plans to use that player both on and off the basketball. A combo guard handles the ball to initiate the offense on some possessions and plays off the ball as a floor spacer or cutter on others. So, Raven Johnson is going to share primary ball handling duties, but with who? It is absolutely not Kelsey Mitchell. Mitchell is a pure high-volume scorer who plays the shooting guard position. She does not bring the ball up against heavy 94-foot pressure. And she does not orchestrate the half-court offense. She is a finisher, not an initiator. The only player on the Indiana Fever roster who currently runs the point full-time, dictating the pace and geometric flow of the offense, is Caitlin Clark. If Caitlin Clark is sharing ball-handling duties with Johnson and veteran acquisition Tyasha Harris, she is no longer the full-time, undisputed point guard. She is being deliberately, systematically moved off the ball for significant portions of every single game. And when Caitlin Clark is off the ball, her historic league-leading 8.8 assists per game are sitting in the corner doing absolutely nothing. The greatest passing vision in the history of women's basketball is being actively neutralized by her own coaching staff. This is not just fan speculation, and this seems to be exactly what the front office is signaling to the public. Cox also claimed that Raven Johnson was simply the best player available at pick number 10. Watch this clip very carefully, saying that, oh, they're going to load manage Caitlin Clark, and we'll get to the fact that the Fever's still putting up their little social media posts about buying tickets. And when I tell you that has got swatted down by fans of Caitlin Clark like Dikembe Mutombo is playing defense going, I mean, rejected back into the stands. Playoff ball, load management. This is starting to sound like a nightmare. She stated the front office deeply believed Johnson would go in the top 4 or 5 picks. She said they were pumped when she was still on the board and looked into the camera to call the pick an absolute home run. No, those are not the words of a general manager who passively settled for a draft pick because nothing better was available on their big board. Those are the aggressive words of a front office that targeted Raven Johnson specifically. This was not a panicked fallback plan because a forward got taken ahead of them. It appears this was the master plan all along. And if you want empirical evidence that this was a pre-planned corporate setup to completely change the identity of the Indiana Fever offense, look at the massive corporate solid footprint that dropped before the draft even started. Got sent this by Evelyn DR right here. She sent me this on Monday before the draft. Raven Johnson signed a multi-year deal with Adidas. Right here. For them, shoes. Yikes. Talk about clown show shoes. Anyway, for those shoes, tease. There is not a world where you will convince me that Raven Johnson didn't already know she was going to get drafted by the Fever. Raven Johnson signed a massive, highly lucrative, multi-year deal with Adidas on the Monday, immediately preceding the Wednesday draft. Let me give you a smart, behind-the-scenes insight into the sports marketing business. You do not get a major corporate rollout, a custom sneaker contract, and a massive financial bag from a global conglomerate on a Monday, unless the brand's executives already know exactly what zip code and what media market you are landing in on a Wednesday. Adidas knew. The Fever knew. This was highly calculated from the very beginning. Nobody in the mainstream media is connecting how flawlessly all of this aligns with everything head coach Stephanie White has been telegraphing to the public for months. Let me draw the line for you so you can see the entire picture. Stephanie White told reporters that Clark can play on and off the ball. Amber Cox just said Johnson will transition into a combo guard. Stephanie White praised the roster's tactical versatility. Amber Cox praised the roster's versatility. Stephanie White said the guard depth allows Mitchell to rest. Amber Cox said Johnson will relieve Clark and Mitchell of ball handling duties. They are singing from the exact same corporate hymn sheet. The front office has clearly distributed an internal PR memo, and what they are all saying in synchronized unison is that Caitlin Clark's role is fundamentally changing. The Fever are not just adding depth to the end of their bench to survive a grueling season. They are actively restructuring their entire basketball identity. They appear to be moving from a Clark-centered, heliocentric masterpiece to a committee approach, where multiple guards share the basketball. And they are using a very specific manipulative shield to justify it to the public. Load management. Let me explain what load management actually means in the context of professional basketball because the Fever front office is using this term to calm the fan base, but the highly educated fans are seeing right through the smoke screen. In the NBA, load management means resting a player for entire games. It means sitting them out on the second night of a grueling back-to-back schedule. It means giving a veteran a night off against a bottom-tier team so their legs are fresh for the playoffs. That is traditional load management. What Stephanie White and Amber Cox are describing is absolutely not load management. What they are describing is a permanent change in how Caitlin Clark is used during the minutes she is actually on the hardwood. She is not talking about resting Clark for games in July. She is talking about taking the basketball out of her hands during the 32 minutes she actually plays. Taking the ball away from your best playmaker is not load management. It looks exactly like role reduction disguised as injury prevention. When White says Clark can play on and off the ball, she is saying there will be long stretches where Raven Johnson or Tiasha Harris brings the ball up and Clark stands frozen on the wing. They are not resting Clark, they are limiting Clark. Those are fundamentally entirely different concepts. To be fair, protecting Caitlin Clark's physical health after a bruising season is undeniably critical for the franchise's long-term survival. The trauma of last year was real. Nobody wants a repeat of 2025, where Clark played just 13 games, suffered multiple soft tissue injuries from relentless 94-foot defensive pressure, and watched the rest of the season in street clothes. Furthermore, Kelsey Mitchell suffered from rhabdomyolysis due to extreme overuse, and both Erica McDonald and Sydney Colson went down with season-ending injuries in the exact same game. The medical concerns are highly valid, and keeping the backcourt healthy is a massive priority for the medical staff. But there is a right way and a disastrously wrong way to protect a generational talent. The right way is managing her minutes. Play Clark 30 minutes a game instead of 36. Rest her strategically on the second night of back-to-backs. Hire elite biomechanics experts to improve her physical durability and recovery. That is how you protect a superstar without destroying the very essence of who she is on the basketball court. The wrong way is changing her entire identity. Taking the ball out of her hands. Asking her to play off the ball so that a rookie can handle the point. Reducing her historic assist numbers. Limiting her legendary geometric playmaking. On turning a multi-million-dollar Ferrari into a hybrid commuter car because you are terrified the engine might overheat. That is the wrong way because the front office seemingly drafted based purely on fear and defensive grit. They hoarded guards and completely squeezed their overall roster construction. Look at the absolute PR disaster of an excuse Amber Cox just gave for putting their only 6'4" perimeter shooter, rookie Justine Pissot, on an unprotected developmental contract. Is out. Wouldn't she be starting at playing point guard and not load-managed limited minutes? Kiki question mark? CDS, we all want to know. We all want to know. Nah, not watching. Especially after I heard Stephanie White repeating the story about load-managing CC Budge. I almost said it, folks. Almost went straight mother right here. She'll be traded before the opening day. Hell yes. Guys, I got to tell you, I wish that Houston franchise was already going. Tillman Fertitta, listen closely to that incredibly flimsy explanation. They used a brand new collective bargaining agreement loophole because they mathematically did not have a roster spot for her on the main 12-woman roster. Any championship contending team in the WNBA, whether it is the New York Liberty looking for size or the Las Vegas Aces looking for spacing, can legally swoop in and steal Justine Pissot right now. Why? Because the Fever prioritized drafting redundant combo guards to change their offensive system rather than securing the frontcourt size they desperately needed to protect Aaliyah Boston in the paint. It is a glaring case of roster management malpractice. They have a massive logjam in the backcourt and gaping holes in the frontcourt. Let us step away from the front office politics and take a deep analytical dive into the X's and O's of what this actually looks like on the hardwood. Basketball is a game of geometry, spacing, and defensive manipulation. If Raven Johnson brings the ball up the floor, what exactly happens to the defense? WNBA defenses are elite, highly scouted machines. They will immediately go under the screen on Raven Johnson. They will sag off of her, clog the paint, and absolutely dare her to shoot from deep. They will not respect her perimeter gravity the way they respect Clark's. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is standing off the ball on the wing. What is her primary defender doing? Her defender is doing something called top locking. The defender will turn their back entirely to the basketball, face guard Clark, physically bump her off her spots, and deny her the entry pass entirely. Because Johnson's defender is sagging off the perimeter, the driving lanes to the rim are permanently clogged. Because Aaliyah Boston is fighting for position on the low block, the paint is packed with massive bodies. And because Clark is being top-locked on the wing, the spacing completely evaporates. The beautiful, chaotic, high-scoring Iowa-style offense that Caitlin Clark brought to the WNBA grinds to a devastating, highly predictable half-court halt. You are turning a fast-break track meet into a sluggish, grinding defensive slugfest. This brings us to the psychological root of the entire systemic problem. The massive, unchecked ego of the system coach. Coaches who cut their teeth on gritty, defensive-minded, highly structured basketball inherently want to prove that their specific system is what wins championships, not just raw, unadulterated generational talent. When a highly structured coach inherits a rule-breaking anomaly like Caitlin Clark, it creates an internal identity crisis. If the coach just gives Clark the ball, lets her run the show, and they win a title, the historical narrative will forever be that Caitlin Clark was so great she won the championship. But if the coach can mold her, restrict her, move her off the ball, implement a rigid structure, and win an ugly defensive battle, the narrative immediately becomes that the coach's brilliant system won the championship. This points directly to a desire for control. And the front office's media interviews suggest they are fully enabling this deep desire for control. This is exactly why the aggressive ticket sales pushes are meeting undeniable fierce hostility online. Evelyn Dr. No thanks, I'm good. Caitlin isn't your priority, and it shows. We spent thousands last season just to watch her get iced out. No screens, no plays, just standing there in the corner like a decoy. And now the coach thinks she's a combo guard. Hell, Evelyn, she going to put her in small forward. She may play center before the season's out. Wouldn't she be starting at playing point guard and not load-managed limited minutes? Question mark? CDS, we all want to know. We all want to know. Nah, not watching. Listen to the receipts. The fans are raging. Fans are absolutely not paying premium prices to watch Caitlin Clark stand in the corner as a decoy, while a rookie runs the half-court offense. They are paying to watch Clark push the ball in transition, to watch her throw no-look full-court laser passes, to watch her pull up from the logo, to watch her create wide-open shots for her teammates with the kind of passing vision that nobody else in the history of this league possesses. That is the product. That is what sells the tickets. You cannot tell the customer that the product is fundamentally changing and then charge the exact same premium price for it. It is basic introductory economics. If a high-end restaurant changes its world-famous signature recipe, they cannot expect the same lines out the door. The Indiana Fever signature, world-famous dish, is Caitlin Clark running the point guard position, and they are publicly, arrogantly changing the recipe.